Wow, there we go. All right, yeah. Well, guys, this live stream is completely dedicated to the stuff I've been studying. I told you guys in the last live stream that I was going to do a live stream soon that was going to explain a lot of the stuff that I'm doing in with all this law stuff that I've been studying. And what I think we're going to do first is I'm going to show a video of a gentleman that I've been watching consistently over and over and over again. Been watching a lot of his videos, and he goes by the name of Rick W, and his channel is RICK space W, Rick W, and he's one of the channels that I've been watching. There's a few other channels that I keep an eye on also, but for the sake of this video or this live stream, we're just gonna do his video and put his video in here. So what he's doing in this next one is that he's explaining oh, wrong one. No, that's the wrong one too. Hold on a second, I'll get coordinated here. Just hold on. Dashboard live. This, nope, not that one. There we go. This one. There we go. Okay. So, no, hold on, I have to put this down below my, get rid of the starting soon. And below the Logitech camera. There we go. Okay. I got that dang line in this screen there. But yeah, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be showing you guys what I have been doing, what I've been studying, and just kind of put it in a nutshell, because I've been studying this stuff for obviously the past year and 6 months, 8 months, something like that, and there is no way I can go into the absolute depth with this stuff, but I'm going to be showing you just a nutshell of what's going on here. So we're gonna, without further ado, we're gonna play this video, and I gotta turn up the volume a little bit higher. Unfortunately, you guys are gonna be picking up the audio directly from my speakers right here, because you know I don't have the real super fancy setup where I can actually just stream the audio right into my camera feed. So yeah, but we're gonna hit this. What he's talking about in this is cease and desist junction for collateral attack against void support orders, and what this is for child support, and that's what his entire channel is about fighting that. And in this video he doesn't really explain it, but in essence what child support is called a Title 40. It's Title 4D collection service for Title 4A loans, and Title 4A loans are loans that are granted off to the Department of Health and Human Services, and for payment through the state for it's money that goes to the state via a reporting issue from the Title 40 collection service. The Title 40 collection service pulls money in for payback of loans, but technically nobody ever really gets paid back the loan, and technically it's a block grant is what it is. So it's money that's taken out of the system that is never put back in, which, you know, obviously adds to more debt. But this is, we're gonna hit play here, and you guys can watch what he's talking about here in this. In this situation, he's talking about an order that is issued against a dad or a non-custodial parent, and how the order that is issued by the judge, any judge whatsoever, in a Title 40 case, is void of having authority. And I'll get into the more specifics of that later.
Hello everybody, it's Rick. It is September the 5th, 2018. If you need to reach me, you can do that by sending me an email at rick0327 at me.
I hope you guys can hear this okay.
Okay. Please keep the emails brief. Okay. And I only do child support.
This is funny because what he's explaining here, I mean, see, him and another guy that I watch, what they do is they deal in everything via email. Every time you want to contact them, they go through their email. And I have told them many, many times on their channel, and even sent them personal messages and stuff, that what they need to do is they need to set up a Patreon account, and it'll free up all that crazy and everything that's coming from the PayPal, coming from their email. Because in their email, anybody can contact them, anybody can ask them questions, anybody can, you know, and so their emails end up turning into one just big massive clusterfuck of information. People always wanting this, and then you get people getting mad and, you know, firing and blowing up on you and all that kind of crap. Well, if you were to set up a Patreon account, anybody who joins up with the Patreon account are the only people who can email you, and or not the email, but they're the only people who can contact you, and they're the people who get to show, like if you want to do a specialized video responding to somebody specific, then you could do that on Patreon. And, you know, like if you have people who just request, let's say people just the people who just want to ask questions could join up with Patreon for a $2 or $3 amount every month. So those people could come in on Patreon and they could ask questions and get responses back and forth. So there's none of this email tag crap going back and forth. And then you could up the tier, you know, if people want your paperwork, if people want you to get more involved in their case, then you jack that up to like $20 a month or $50 a month, you know. And those are the people that you specifically pay attention to, because those people are helping you make money while at the same time you're helping them out with their cases. You see what I'm saying? So there's that situation. And plus, it alleviates all those haters that would come in. I mean, yeah, you might get a few haters in there. They'll pay $3 and come in and just blast you with a bunch of stupid, and then exit out and clear their credit card so you don't get the $3. But then you can just go in there and you can block that person, and that person never ever can join up with your Patreon again. You see what I'm saying? So even if people try doing that to these guys, they could just block them, block their credit card, block their ability to join up, and just, you know, completely. I mean, it'd probably be a lot of work, maybe, who knows, but you know, you can block people and get them out. And so what he's talking about here is he's talking about how he's getting all these emails from people, and people are asking him questions, and he's spending too much time giving out free information. You know, you sit behind your computer, you've got 15, 20 people who are contacting you, wanting to ask a question about this, and this is what happened in my case, what do I do? And then he's sitting there and he's responding to all this stuff, and he's not getting paid for it. You know, he sits there for fucking 8-10 hours a day responding to all these people, and he ain't getting paid for it. You know, why do it? So what he says here is kind of funny because he's like, I'm sick and tired of responding to all these free emails and helping all these people out and answering questions. You know, there's plenty enough information on my YouTube channel for you to go through all this information, get the information yourself, watch all those videos. For right now, I'm only going to respond to people who actually donate to the cause to get my paperwork. That's what he's doing right now. So this is fun. This is kind of funny.
That's it. I don't do traffic. I don't do anything else. Okay. Also, please, I'm from now on, I'm only going to be answering emails from people who have sent me a gift or are going to send me a gift. Okay, please don't email me, because you just want to ask me a question. Sorry, I don't do that anymore. All right. Dealing with this channel could be stressful enough, dealing with all the emails, and then I don't need to deal with some wise asses, who are too lazy to use the computer or not competent enough to use the computer. I had some jerk off last night, asking me how to use a ticket, where to find who to send a ticket to, and I really wasn't in the mood. And of course, he was a wise guy. I just told him to Google or call the people on the ticket. So he's a wise guy, of course. Well, he's looking for me to help him. So I discovered that by having this channel, it opens me up to dealing with people. And a lot of people, I knew this when I was a cop, so I shouldn't be surprised. But a lot of people were screwed up, and really screwed up. And being that I don't like dealing.
Can you guys read that text that he has on the screen there? Hey, John 204, what's going on? Can you guys read the text that's on the screen there, or should I darken it up a little bit so it stands out a little more? Joe Calandro. Okay, what's the question, Joe? Oops. There, I darkened up the screen a little bit. Is it better? Is it easier to read now? I always been having trouble still with the clutch situation. Well, Joe, you do have a pretty big you do have a pretty big engine. I could give you some pointers, but you're not going to want to hear them. Take off the engine and put a smaller engine on it that'll handle the clutches. It's like, hell no. Joe's got a big engine on his motorcycle, and all the clutches that he uses for it, they all burn out because the engine's too big for those clutches. The RPMs and the output and all that kind of stuff is just way too big. they use clutch discs. Do they use clutch discs? I thought they were rollers. Huh. Joe, have you tried getting in contact with any other YouTube channels that deal in racing go-karts? I mean, stay away from Cars and Cameras and Redbeard's Garage. Stay away from them. But you got to go to the guys who do the more professional stuff.
Yo, T-Man, can you hear me?
Yeah.
For some reason, I don't have your personal no more, only on the interactive live stream on here.
Oh no, I lost a few people. See, I download, well,
It says waiting for you to accept me.
okay, well, what's going on here? I can't get to the app right now. I don't know what's going on with this damn tablet. It's
It's
been,
all good, brother. I'm gonna not talk for your stream because I see what you're trying to do. Oh, by the way, I lost my wrench somehow.
yeah. I don't know what's going on with my tablet anyways. I'm trying to show me all the damn apps that are on my tablet, and it keeps reverting me off to time and yeah, see, it's like locking up for some reason. I don't know what's going on here. Huh. Weirdness happening. I don't know. It's kind of... Did you guys... from the last live stream, did anybody download that that app that showed all your technical cool stuff on your phone? Did anybody download that thing? Because I've noticed that my battery dies really fast, and every once in a while it gets a little glitchy. Process wrench priorities. Oh yeah, well, I took some people off of the moderator status because a lot of people weren't using it, so I just got rid of the moderator status. There's a lot of people that I got rid of. I mean, I try to have only about 5 to 7 people as moderators on my channel, and I had like 15. so I got rid of a bunch of people and took away the moderator status. We've got Adsar, and I think he's the only moderator in here now. I don't even know if Stacy's moderator anymore. I don't know. I'd have to go in there and look around, figure out who it is. Because I don't like having everybody who comments in the comment section being moderators, because there's people out there who get pissed off about that. Why is it? What kind of idiot turns around and makes everybody who comments in their chats a moderator? Why? There's no point in it. The only reason there is a moderator status is so that way you can block people who come in and get shitty, or because that way it gives you the ability to post URLs. And yeah, I guess that's it. That's the only two things that being a moderator really does. And I had like 15 people in there, you know? So I was like, yeah, I gotta knock this down. Bleach PC, I only have one moderator, yeah. Yeah. It makes it look too childish, I guess. You know, when you go into some of these live streams and everybody that you see is a moderator, and the only reason people want to be moderators is so that way their text stands out, and that's not the point behind being a moderator. The point of being a moderator is to be able to integrate and post URLs, and also be able to put wipe out comments that are bad. That's it. Those are the only two reasons to have moderators. And since I've already got like 7, you know, there ain't no, or maybe it's 6, I can't remember. But I got rid of a lot of moderators. Sean Killer's not a moderator anymore because I haven't seen him in here since 3 months ago, something like that. Or was it 4 months? I don't know. But yeah, there ain't no point in doing that. So yeah. That was a good one. They don't watch the lives. Love my other videos though. Oh yeah. Watch much mod mode engage. Yeah, tool review. Oh yeah, tool review and Atsar. That's right. They're the same guy, but he's got 2 different channels because you never know. I never know when he's logged in to what channel he's logged into. So I made both of his channels moderator because if he's logged in as Adsar and he gets a notification under tool review, then yeah. And Race Fab Shop, yep, those 3. 3 channels. Yep. But anyways, yeah. Adsar, can you read this stuff that's on the screen better? Is it really dark? Is it blotchy? I got hacked from the list. Oh. I can't. Okay. All right. I just wanted to make sure that you guys can actually read this stuff. We've got. Bring my cursor over here. These are certain decisions and comments made by the Supreme Court, and this section here. It's a 1960 case from the Florida Supreme Court case. Ramagili, Ramagli, Ramagli Realty, and Craver. But let's get into this.
A-holes. I have to limit my exposure to a-holes. So unless you are going to send me a gift, have sent me a gift, please don't contact me. All right. Also, I've noticed that, you know, I tend to be a nice guy, and again, I communicate with some people that have never sent me a gift, and you know, by me being courteous and responding to the emails, before long, I'm
hey Doug,
you know, in their life, and you know, them asking me questions, asking me to look at their paperwork. You know, again, I have my own channel to deal with. I have my own people to deal with. I don't have time to be going over your paperwork or, you know, helping you feel better about yourself. All right, I'm not a therapist. Okay, so you know, I had to take a month off from this channel because my blood pressure was through the roof. So again, unless you're gonna send me a gift for my paperwork, or you already have, all right, don't send me an email. All right, so listen, you know, I told you guys I made a video about cease and desist, and also you could file an injunction. And what they are, what we're doing by the real reason why we're doing it is it's a collateral attack. Okay, so what we're doing is by filing a cease and desist, we're bringing attention to the court that you are demanding the respondent, you know, could be your employer, could be the child support agency. We're demanding that they cease and desist, or you're filing an injunction because the order is void. Okay,
Yeah.
the order could be defective on its face. It could not have, or it will not have a judicial signature, and that's our way of saying that the order is void. And then that way, also, we'll be in a different court. You're not going to file a cease and desist in the same court than the child support court. Okay, you're going to be in a different court altogether. Now, listen, the court's going to know what you're trying to do, but they have to respond. Okay. Also,
see what he's talking about there. If you type that in, who was it that made that comment? Let's go up here. Check this out. Francisco. It looks like some fake court order thing. No, that's real stuff. That's real stuff. You can do a search. Do a Google search for it. See, I'm looking at this. What's he talking about in this? He's talking about, this is how you do it. This is how you, when you see this kind of stuff. R-A-M-A-G-L-I, or Migueli Realty. Versus C-R-A-V-E-R, Craver, 121 S-O, Southern, Second District, no, or District 2, I would assume that's 2nd District, 648, Florida Supreme Court, 648. And we know that it's a 1960s case. All right. So this is how you do this. It's real easy. Go up here. Go into Google and you type in R-A-M-A-G-L-I R-E-A-L T-Y versus C-R-A-V-E-R 121 D, just regular D. 648. Enter. Florida Supreme Court. See, it says it right there. The link goes to La Justia. Open that in another tab. This is the Supreme Court ruling. A petition for certiorari for the cause asserts, among other things, that this decision of the District Court of Appeals is in direct conflict with decisions of this court, which held that the appellate court is without jurisdiction to enter an appeal from a final judgment in an action at law filed more than 6 days after the rendition of such a final judgment. The Constitution provides that district courts shall have jurisdiction of appeals for trial courts. The rules of the courts. Let's see here. They get into What was his... The district court opinion recites that the appeal is from a final judgment entered pursuant to a default. Following such statement, the district court was without jurisdiction to enter an appeal for the final judgment. Therefore, it was without jurisdiction to decide any question which arose in the process of the litigation prior to the date of the final judgment. Let's see what this says. Why use collateral attack against void judgment? A void judgment is a nullity. Well, that's a given. Everybody knows that. Well, once you start getting into law and stuff like that, yeah, a void judgment is nullity, and is subject to collateral attack and may be stricken at any time. The passage of time cannot make valid that which has always been void. So that means, like, if somebody coerces you into signing some contract 15 years ago, and that contract is a void contract because it had no authority behind it, even though you signed it, that contract is still a void order. So 10 years, 15, 20 years from now, that order is always going to be void. It's not going to slowly magically turn into a valid contract that you have to obey by. If it was wrong to be done in the beginning, it's forever wrong. And you'd have to read through this case here. Read through all, how many pages are there? Apparently, there's 7 pages of it. Well, technically there's about 6. And page 7 is all the citations. Yeah, you gotta look through some of this stuff and see whether or not it's decent. You know, sometimes I've come across certain court rulings, people have cited certain Supreme Court decisions and stuff like that, and you get in there and you read it, and it actually has, I mean, what they say in the Supreme Court ruling, some of it's correct, but it applies to something else, and it doesn't apply to what your situation is, kind of. But yeah.
A writ of habeas corpus is another collateral attack, but the downside to that is, and people that are filing it, we're finding that a lot of times these judges, they just ignore the petition that says non-statutory, and they also ignore adjudicated facts from the Supreme Court, and they make their decisions solely on a statute. And they'll dismiss it, saying that, well, you don't meet the criteria because you're not a prisoner, you're not a federal prisoner. Even though in we've made efforts in the writ of habeas corpus to say, well, we're not a prisoner, and the Supreme Court in Meyer versus Nebraska and Harris versus Nelson says you're allowed to file a writ of habeas corpus, for non-physical restraints and for deprivation of due process in a state court. So by doing just a cease and desist, you're going to point out that the order is void. It's defective. All right, and I'll show you how. So let's go. Right, so again, we're going to use a cease and desist or an injunction for collateral attack against the void.
I'm going to point something out here, guys. Rick's channel, this guy over here, Rick's channel is dedicated to people who want to fight child support. Write motions and affidavits and file complaints and stuff like that and send it to child support. What I'm doing is not what he he focuses on people fighting against all these wrong judgments and stuff put on their lifestyle. Fight against the Title 40 company itself. That's not what I'm doing. What I'm doing is I'm pulling them out of their nest egg and bringing them into federal court. That's what I'm doing. I'm not fighting them on their own turf because I have a pretty good idea their bitch asses are going to try to fucking curtail that and win no matter what. So I'm not going to allow that shit. I'm pulling them into federal court. That's what I'm doing.
Court order. War and IWO. Same thing, basically. Okay? Why are we going to use it against a collateral attack against court? I just basically told you, but I'm going to give you the definition. A void judgment is a nullity and is subject to collateral attack and may be stricken at any time. Very important. The passage of time cannot make it valid that which has always been void. All right, it says commit that quote to memory. Remember that, guys. A void judgment can never be valid. That also means that they cannot, a lot of these judges, because they feel that they're gods, they like to give you terms saying, all right, well, you got to go back to court or whatever. There are no terms. A void judgment is void. Okay? So it's a 1960 Supreme Court case, Ramagli or Mali Realty versus Craver. Right now, look it up. Okay?
We did.
All right. Collateral attack definition: collateral attack on a prior judgment, a new case, not by direct appeal. Okay, so what that means is, we're seeking relief. All right, we're just saying that we're ordering a cease and desist because it's again the judgment is void, it's defective. Okay, and that's why we're doing it. Okay, so it's called an indirect attack. So we're asking the court to tell your employer, the child support agency, to stop taking your property because the judgment is void. Okay, and I just gave you an example: habeas corpus. Okay, collateral attack by habeas corpus. Here is the case law. Look it up. Okay. Okay, I said this before. Collateral attack by writ habeas. Sadly, filing a writ habeas corpus as a collateral attack, we face obstacles, and we are facing these obstacles. Okay, because these courts know what we're doing. All right, but they also have, they as I pointed out before, they have ways of dismissing it by claiming statutory reasons. Okay. So we're not going to go that way. We're just going to say that the order is void because, and we're going to give reasons why. Okay, there are no statutory reasons to say that an order is legally effective, because it's not. If it's not signed by a judge, right? How many of you guys out there and girls have support orders issued by these fake judges? You cannot make order by a fake judge, effective if.
Yeah, Paul, the guy that's in this white shirt right here, where you see my cursor at, this is Rick W. His channel is RICK space W. He studies law in his own time. He was before he retired a New York police officer. He has some pretty high credentials. He's taught classes in anti-terrorism and all sorts of shit. And he ended up getting railroaded by his wife. And then, his wife tried to do a bunch of shit. But then child support came in and they started railroading him and taking a bunch of money and everything like that. So what he's done now is he's gone out and he's found out about a bunch of this crap on how it works and how bad it is. And now he's fighting against it. Yeah, and what he's talking about here is a habeas corpus. Some of you guys might have heard about what a habeas corpus is. Is like when you get put into jail, you can file a writ of habeas corpus. And what a writ of habeas corpus primarily is a battle between jurisdictions. If you're sitting in jail and the laws that put you in that jail and they're holding you in that jail, if they don't have any jurisdiction or they don't have any power to hold you in that jail, you can give out the correct arguments in a habeas corpus and demand to be released. Well, of course, you got to know your arguments. You got to know you got to know the rules and all that kind of stuff. Well, a lot of people, no, but I'll get into this in a little bit and explain this stuff to you guys, because I got a little piece of paper here to show you guys how this all works. But, and you guys are going to be pretty interested in this too. Anyways, yeah, but this is where he's talking about how judges will ignore a writ of habeas corpus and say, well, that's only for people who are incarcerated into jail. And no, that is absolutely wrong. The Supreme Court, I can't remember. Well, he actually just cited it a few minutes ago. Supreme Court has decided that a writ of habeas corpus is a constitutional right against non-physical restraint, which means you don't have to be stuck in jail if you're being restrained. You know, if you're being restrained of liberty, as in, like, you know, I want to, you know, let's say if they arrest you and they put you in jail and then they release you, and then a few days later they arrest you and they put you back into jail. Well, technically, even though they let you out and then they brought you back in, technically within those few days you're still incarcerated. You didn't have the freedom to go out and do what you wanted to do. And that becomes part of what's known as a restraint of your liberty. And it's a real thing. You can sue the shit out of people for that. Many judges refuse to acknowledge adjudicated facts and will dismiss based upon statutory requirements such as imprisonment. So this is where, like, well, you're not a prisoner in the state, in the Department of Corrections, so we're not going to allow your writ of habeas corpus to have any form and effect. Well, that's wrong, because there's a court case in the Supreme Court, and I've got it sitting around here in one of my many stacks of paperwork, that states that a habeas corpus is not just for prisoners. Oh, yeah, here it is. I've actually got it right here. It's a Supreme Court ruling. Harrison versus Nelson. In this specific Supreme Court ruling, they stated that you can file a habeas corpus against somebody who's restraining your life. You know, just because you can file a writ of habeas corpus against a bank if they're restraining you. Let's say they have a hold on your bank account and you can't have any access to your money. Well, now you're going to have your electricity shut off. You're going to have your water shut off. See, they're restraining you, and you issue out a writ of habeas corpus and you issue it to the bank, and then you give notice to the courts that you've issued out to the bank a writ of habeas corpus and you need to release my property because you're restraining my lifestyle from achieving what I need to achieve. And you can sue under that. You can sue underneath those provisions. If they say, oh, well, I don't know what the hell this is, and we're just going to keep it going. You know, no, wrong. You see what I'm saying? That's what he's talking about. But then some judges out there are like, well, you're not in prison, so how can our habeas corpus be, connected to you if you're not a prisoner? Well, it's not. That case right there says you don't have to be a prisoner. If your life is being restrained somehow, some way, if your liberty has been being restrained, you have the right to sue.
The Supreme Court says that it's a violation of the 14th Amendment.
Yeah.
Okay? Or it's not signed by a clerk. Okay? And I'm going to point out to you guys, I used to talk about this a lot. And we're going to go back and check out a statute. Okay? It's 28 U.S.C. 1691 that says all writs, which are orders from a court, has to be signed by a judge and signed by a clerk. Many of these orders are signed by fake judges and signed by assistant clerks. Okay? Although the Supreme Court is a
Yeah, I'll show you guys here what he's talking about. find my paperwork. Oh, where the fuck is it? I know it was sitting right here. Get this stuff out of the way. Yeah, I've even got the Federal Manual of Child Support right here. That's about an abortion and a half. There's so much crap they have in that, it's like totally just, oh my God. Well, apparently. I don't know where it's at. Huh. I used to have my old court paperwork. But I used to have it sitting right here off to the side of me, and I don't see the damn thing. Oh well, we'll just keep playing this guy's video. I'm gonna keep looking for it.
Adjudicated that writ habeas corpus is a constitutional right against non-physical restraint of liberty. Many judges refuse to acknowledge adjudicated facts and will dismiss based upon statutory requirements. Also, what we're going to be doing with the cease and desist or injunction, you're going to insist on a return date where you want to be in front of a judge. You want to argue this in front of a judge. We're going to try to avoid playing tag with a judge by doing it but through mail. What they want you to, they rather do this through the mail. You go to court, you bring the petition, you give it to the clerk, they accept it, right? They stamp it, all right? You serve the other party, and then what happens invariably is that you get a letter in the mail, and you've never gotten the time, the opportunity to be in front of a judge and argue these facts. Now, if you're not in front of a judge, they could just ignore these things in the petition. All right. So here we go. It may be easy to file a petition for cease, desist, or an injunction as a collateral. Cease and desist is a legally enforceable order from a court or government agency directing someone to stop engaging in a particular activity. By petitioning a court to cease and desist, to order a child support agency, employer, a bank to cease and desist, you are showing the court the many lawful reasons why a support order and income withholding order are legally defective, without legal force, and therefore void. Many of these reasons are constitutional. Okay. An income withholding order is a complete violation of the Fourth Amendment, because only a court of record, or just a court, can issue a warrant or some type of order ordering the seizure of your property. Okay. And an income withholding order is issued by an agency, so it has no legal force. Okay. Now the court will be on record for viewing evidence. Also, by doing this, you're introducing the void judgment, the income withholding order. It's evidence now. It's on the record. So you're going to introduce it as evidence, and you're going to present in the cease and desist why it's legally defective. Okay. Now, the judge is required by oath and bound by the Supremacy Clause, Article 6, Section 2, to acknowledge any constitutional defects. You have to remember that, guys. It's very, very important that you remember that a judge is bound constitutionally to uphold the oath of office and uphold the laws of the Constitution. Okay? The judge is required to acknowledge statutes and adjudicated facts that prove an order is void. I just told you about 28 U.S.C. Okay? Constitutional reasons why an order for support or IWO, income withholding order, is void. I just said it before, the Fourth Amendment search and seizure protections. Income withholding order is not issued by a court. I just said that. Here we go. 28 U.S.C. Section 1691, seal and test process. All writs and process issuing from a court of the United States shall be under the seal of the court and signed by the clerk thereof. Okay? Many of you have them signed by a deputy clerk. All right, this is a case law. Inasmuch as all writs and processes issuing from a court of the United States are required by statute to be under the seal of the court and signed by the clerk thereof. An injunction signed only by a deputy clerk of a district court is void, by the way. Somebody added that in the actual, I just fixed it, so it doesn't matter. It's void for want of judicial signature. Okay, how many times have we heard that, right? Quorum non judice. Okay, how many times have we heard it? Burnham versus Superior Court. It has been adjudicated by the Supreme Court that due process requires a trial by jury, right? We talked about that plenty of times. Okay, sometimes simple defects on support orders or IWOs are the best arguments for a judge to certify a void judgment. Okay, it's hard for a judge to deny it. Okay, IWO, not signed by a judge or a clerk. IWO, not signed by a court, is a violation of separation of powers doctrine. Okay, only a court within the judicial branch can issue a judicial order. Okay, any order issued by a executive agency is basically executive imprisonment. Okay, because you're being restrained. Okay, which is a form of imprisonment by an executive agency. Okay, and an executive agency has absolutely no judicial powers to order you restrained or order you in prison. It's impossible. It's a complete violation of the separation of powers doctrine and a violation, a deprivation of your rights. Okay? Support order not signed by a judge or a clerk is void under 28 U.S.C. So sometimes it's easier to use, we don't like all of their statutes, but again, if we have a statute that helps us, use it. Okay? They use it whenever they deem it, for their purposes, we can use it. Okay? Orders are void if signed and issued by persons not judges, right? Our commissioners, our support magistrates, our friend of the court, a DA, an assistant DA, an assistant attorney general. Any title not called judge. Okay? All right, it's a quorum non judice are void for a violation of the 14th Amendment. Okay? Really that simple. Oh, here's another thing. I'm the only person, by the way, that I've seen on the internet that pointed this out. And in my, on that video with me before the judge, the writ of quo warranto video, this came in handy for me. I'm the only one I know that caught them doing this, that their orders are not entered as a money judgment with the county clerk's office. Okay? And many of you go and do it, you'll find that there are no records entered with the county clerk, and they are required. Okay? In New York State, under CPLR 5016 requires that orders by a judge are to be signed and entered by the county clerk. Also, in New York State, please, New York State, people only, Family Court Act 460 requires sport orders to be signed by the clerk and entered in the county clerk. So it says the clerk in the county where the proceedings took place. The scam that they pull is they enter it in the clerk's office in the family court. That is not a county clerk. Okay, it doesn't count. All right, so this is just another reason you could say there's no record of a money judgment recorded with the county clerk's office. Okay, court must order cease and desist because the order or the IWO is legally defective. Okay, by showing simple defects, the court is without discretion and must order a cease and desist. You do not have to mention anything about child support. Okay? And here's the thing. They're never going to be able to do that, these child support agencies. They only know one way of doing things, and that's by issuing their BS. Okay? So, you know, we got them. All right? So, and again, there's a term, KISS. Really, I say keep it simple, sweethearts, because I don't want to call you stupid. It's really keep it simple, stupid. All right? So, but you guys aren't stupid. You're watching my channel, you're not stupid. All right? Good luck. All right? You're going to file the petition in a local court. You can easily call on the phone to see if the courts accept petitions for cease and desists. Okay, you don't have to tip them off. Why? You just say, I want to file a cease and desist. Okay, and you're not going to file it in the same court as these support orders. Okay, because those aren't real courts. All right, those are bullshit courts. So you want to file it like in a Supreme Court. New York State, it would be a Supreme Court. Okay, any law and equity court in your county. Okay. So, you know, you could just Google, you know, where would I file a cease and desist in your county? Put your county and put a question mark. Okay. This is one of mine. Okay. Okay. 9 pages. All right. Notice of injunction.
Well, I was just looking around through here, trying to find the court order that started mine all up. And I can't fucking find the goddamn thing. It should have been right here in this paperwork, but it's not. I would have showed you how the order that they initiate is wrong. And what he was just talking about right there.
Notice of petition, injunction. Look at that bad boy. That bad boy is nasty. I'll tell you, my orders are nasty. My affidavit, they are just so nasty. They cause these people to pull their hair out, I bet. Okay, so you know, that's basically it. I mean, filing a cease and desist, in my mind, is, you know, a pretty simple collateral attack. again, I'm for filing a writ of habeas corpus if you just want to get, the whole thing squashed. All right, but if you want a temporary thing, the cease and desist might be the way to go. Okay. Also, if you get a court to certify by filing a cease and desist, by certifying that the order is void, you have it on record now, and you can bring it back to the court of issuance and say, oh, by the way, your order is void. Or you go to child support agency and say, oh, by the way, this is void. This is no good. You got to stop. Okay. That's what happened with me. The judge, with my case, vacated it, and I had to travel into Manhattan. I have the video on my channel where I had to deal with this woman, a real nasty woman. Perfect for her job. Really enjoys her job. Really enjoys doing what she does. She really gets into, conning people. I've caught her in many lies. And I handed her, I had to get an actual order from the judge to tell them to stop, because they wouldn't stop. Even though the original order said that the sport order is vacated, they still wouldn't stop. They don't care. They're just, rogue criminals. They're criminals. You know what else I noticed? That whenever I release these videos, Monday through Friday, I usually always get a thumbs down right away. And I believe it's because, these creeps are watching my video. Because when I release the videos on the weekends, I usually don't get any thumbs down. Not that I care, okay? I really don't, all right? But I'm pretty sure that these people are watching my videos, all right? But anyway, then I had to go to family court and get the judge to actually write an order ordering, and then she's still like, I don't understand what you want me to do. Like, and I was like, and again, I told the story quite a few times, but I always get new subscribers, so I got to tell it again. And I'm like, it's not what I want; it's what the judge wants. But again, we're dealing with some really nasty people. But again, we're going to be filing a cease and desist or an injunction in a different court. Okay, we're not going to be dealing with the child support court. Okay. All right, guys. I'll talk to you guys later.
Yeah. Oh. I'll show you guys here what he's talking about here. Oop, wrong one. What the hell? That one? There we go. Okay, now I gotta go find this picture. Here we go. This is the structure of how it works. I'm going to be covering, so that way you guys can see this better, I'm going to be covering all this up. Okay, if you look at the side where it says starts here, kind of in the middle of the page, where's my... Let me grab it something else here. I need to grab a pointer. Yeah, that's good. Let me resize this. Alright, see how it says starts here? It starts with the state. It always starts with the state. What the state does is it enters into a contract with the federal office of child support. It's a 31 USC section 6305 contract. The states go into it. So this isn't some automatic self-imposing fucking laws that are put onto people. Okay? The state purposefully, voluntarily goes into these contracts with the federal office. When that happens, the state, see, it says voluntary enter into contract, creating the state's office of child support. When that happens, the state office is placed into the executive branch and must operate as a single and separate unit. That means that what this does is it creates the office in the state, and it's supposed to operate as a business. Single and separate unit means a business. It means a franchise. It means a company. And what they do then is they take that company and they put it underneath an umbrella agency. Well, here in Montana, it's the Department of Health and Human Services. In some states, it might be the Treasury's office, or the Treasury Department, or the governor's office, or something. You know, they put it underneath some umbrella agency. So they put that office under the umbrella agency, and then when it does that, it also has to indoctrinate, or actually adopt, the federal laws that the Federal Office of Child Support operate off of. They bring them into their own state. Like here in the state of Montana, it's Family Code, I think it's 40-5- whatever. So it takes all these federal codes and then automatically indoctrinates them. You know, they get sent in a big PDF file or a whole bunch of paperwork or something like that, and Congress, the legislation here in the state, passes it, and it gets stuck into the state laws or the state statutes. Now, that means that those laws are not laws. They're not absolute. They're what's known as color of law, because they are statutes. They are laws that were created without Congress having to vote every single damn section into the case, you know, into their laws. It got sent to them in a big old huge truck, and all they did was they removed the numbers from the front end and then tacked in their own state numbers, and then they passed the whole damn thing, and then it all got stuck into the state provisions. And the state laws, I mean, we call them laws, but technically they're statutes, and more or less they're provisions. So these laws that the state brings in from the Federal Office of Child Support, these laws are pretty much provisions that tell child support how to operate. They're not laws that they can turn around and use against people. They are provisions that tell the office how you need to conduct your business. Okay? So the moment that unit, that office in the state is created, the state now, see, it says, then placed under an umbrella agency such as the Department of Health and Human Services, and then it says depends on what state you're in. But anyways, once it's put underneath that umbrella agency, it then goes into contract with all the counties. The state office then enters into a 45 Code of Federal Regulations, Section 302.34 contract with the counties. So that office at the state level goes into contract with the counties. Now, once the counties say okay to it, the county's judges, the prosecutors, the sheriff's office, the clerk of court, the recorder office, treasury's office, everybody in the county goes into a contractually goes in to child support to execute duties for child support. That means, when he was talking about the void judgment, any judge that operates under contract for anybody, whether it be, you know, see, this entire stuff that you see right here is all created by an act of Congress. Congress created child support. Okay? Congress passed child support, which was part of the act of Social Security Act of 1975. The Title 42, the Title 4D Corporation, or Title 4D Provisions of Law that created this federal office, was part of that act. And it's a collection agency. They're a collection service. So all of this, this even going at the very top, the Federal Office of Child Support. The Federal Office of Child Support is separate from the state. See, it's just a contract. It's not a legal imposed system that is automatically put into the state. Everybody's brainwashed into thinking that, oh, it's the state laws, you know, child support, you have to do it, you have to do it. Well, you don't. It's all voluntary. You voluntarily contract into it. And how do you voluntarily contract into doing it? Well, based upon presumptions, they presume that you're the dad, so they're just going to automatically tack that loan onto you, and now you have to repay it back to the CSED or the Federal Office of Child Support. Technically, it's the CSED, but anyway. So, starting from the very top, this entire structure was created by legislation, Congress, which then got stuck into the executive branch. And that's what this is. The Federal Office of Child Support is in the executive branch. It's not a judicial branch. It's part of the executive branch. And all this crazy is part of the executive branch. This is all an Article 1, which is the executive branch of the Constitution. It's an article or a legislative branch of Constitution because the legislature voted this into the system. And so this is all an Article 1. All this stuff right down here, see where the prosecutor's at, the sheriff, the judge, a judge. This is everything that these guys issue out must be under contract. And when a judge enters into, if a judge is not under contract, when he signs this paperwork saying, oh, okay, you have to pay this X amount of dollars every month. When a judge is not, if he's not under contract and he executes judicial authority in this, he just violates the separation of powers. So every single time a judge signs any type of child support work, whether it be family law, IRS, anything in an Article 1 created corporation within the state, a judge has to be under contract, because if he's not under contract, then he ends up violating the separation of powers. So when a judge goes into contract, which is his duties are the 45 CFR section 75.2. You guys can, you're in front of your computers right now. You can type this stuff in and see what it says. You can look this stuff up, right now. This gives the definitions of who they are. This here gives the definitions of what they can do and how they have to operate. So when a judge goes into contract under an executive branch, he no longer is a judge. He is an individual executing magistrate services. So any order that is issued by an Article 1 administrative process lacks all Article 3, which is the judicial branch of the Constitution, it's the judiciary. All Article 1 administrative processes lacks judicial authority, which means it's all void. But they keep doing it because they make lots of money off of it. They purposely put people in jail. Somebody who gets some court order, God damn it, I wish I had that fucking court order sitting here, because then I'd show you guys what a legitimate order looks like, or not a legitimate, but the type of court order that they issue out. But I don't have it sitting anywhere, god damn it. It's always sitting right here off to the side of me, and then it just fucking vanishes. I know I've got it somewhere around here. Oh, dang it. But I'm not seeing it anywhere. But anyways, a lot of times what you'll have, where's my, there we go. A lot of times what you'll have is a, oh shoot, now I'm behind this paper. There we go. But anyways, what'll happen is you'll get an order sent to you, and you end up getting, oh fuck. Well, these are the IWOs. 2 of them. Last time I was at the last place I was working at, and that's what I'm suing them under this stuff. But I don't know where the hell my original court order was at. Well, anyways, the original court order looked like it had the case on it. It had all this fancy stuff. You guys will probably recognize this stuff if you guys have ever dealt with court stuff. This is kind of a layout format thing. So, you know, you've got like this stuff up here, who's coming after you, and then you got the plaintiff, and then you've got the defendant, you know, and all this other kind of shit. Well, on the paperwork that I've got somewhere, it says that on this day, the case has been presented to me, and it all seems to be proper, blah, 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 and then it has the judge's signature in it, and then it has a stamp. Well, that paper has, it's got the stamp and it's got the judge's signature, but there are 2 things that are wrong with that paper, with that judgment. The first one is, it doesn't have a clerk's signature. Okay? Now, normally a judge is also a clerk of the court, so they might be able to get away with that one. They could probably use that as an excuse because a judge can operate as a clerk. But a judge that signs child support paperwork acts in an administrative process. He's not acting as a judge. He just signs his name to it to make everybody think that it's more important. But he gets paid just to do that. So he gets paid just to put his, by Judge so and so so and so. So he gets paid, I think, someplace like $38.36 or something like that every single time he signs something like that. But anyway, so the judge's signature is on there. So I know that the judge was executing magistrate services when he signed that. So he's under contract, which means that that document has no Article 3 judicial power. But there's also another thing that most people don't know about, and that's the judge, it says in that sentence that the judge wasn't present during the hearing, which means that the hearing happened, then the paperwork was all drafted up and then sent to him. Then he looked it over and says, okay, well, according to the state laws, this looks okay, and then he signs it. What that is that's called a hearsay case. That means and even then, the judgment is void because he was not present in the case. You see what I'm saying? So there's 2 points of there's possibly 3 points of voidance on that document. No clerk's signature. He was operating as magistrate services, which means that document has no Article 3 judicial power behind it. And 3, it's a void order because he wasn't present during the case. You know, so they could have put anything on that paperwork, and he went okie, and he could have signed it. You know, so there's 3 points there that entire order, whether it's a federal judge or even if it comes from the Supreme Court. Of course, the Supreme Court doesn't do this kind of stuff. The appellate court and the Supreme Court don't do that kind of shit. They normally don't don't just say, you know, they're courts that really get scrutinized when they make a mistake. So it's only down in the only people who can enter into contracts under an administrative process are federal judges, state judges, and attorneys, because some judges that sit in for child support, you know, you'll walk in and, you know, they'll have the judge sitting in a dark robe, they'll have attorney sitting over here, they'll have a room, they'll have a bailiff, you know, it all gives the illusion that it's an actual Article 3 constitutional court, but it's not. It's an Article 1 administrative hearing. And then they have all this paperwork and they're making it looking all busy and shuffling paper, and you got people on computers and shit just to keep all their chaos going. I mean, of course they do, because it's one big statutory scheme. I've got a Supreme Court ruling where the Supreme Court turns around, says that child support's a statutory scheme. It's terrible. And yeah, once you start learning the system on how it's all structured and how it works, you can go in there and just literally destroy them. So, you know, and then a lot of times they'll throw out, like in my paperwork that I've done so far, I've got like 9 pages of this, but in my complaint, see, sometimes what these people will do, like especially if you're to file a suit against the Title 40 collection service, what they do is the judge looks it over, and if it's okay, the judge then turns around and says, okay, well, let's see what defense has to say. Then they'd send the paperwork off to the child support agency. The child support attorneys would look at it and they're like, fucking goddamn it. Well, and then they'll start claiming there's certain doctrines out there that stop the federal government from looking into cases. But the thing is that those doctrines only cover Article 3 state courts, in the state courts. So child support courts are, obviously, they're not child support courts. It's not a court. It's not an Article 3 court. It's an Article 1 administrative hearing. That's all it is. It's all it is. It's not, you walk in there, you got guys standing there with guns, bailiffs, you got the fucking judge up there sitting behind a big podium, and he's got the black robe on, and all rise, you know, and it's all one big stupid fucking hoopla thing to make everybody think that it's, holy shit, I better comply with it or they're gonna fucking take my house and my car and my fucking license and throw me in jail, and you know. And they collude the shit out of people. Well, if you start understanding how the system works, you can go after them. You go after them. You just can't sit there, and if they pull you into court and they say you have to appear at the family court on at 11 o'clock Thursday morning, so you go in there and they're like, okay, well, you did this and you did this and you didn't pay this and you didn't pay that, so now we're gonna have you put you in there for 7 days. We're gonna put you in jail for 7 days. You should know in the back of your mind, dude, you people are so fucked. I'm gonna keep record of everything your erroneous bitch asses do to me, and the next fucking judgment and capious action is I'm gonna be ripping your asses out of the state, your little nest egg, and pulling you into federal court. Because everything you people do is an Article 1 administrative process, and if you're gonna sit there and try, and you're gonna go into contract with the jail to put me in jail, to coerce my ass into fucking signing or paying money into your bitch asses, it ain't gonna happen. So, you know, you have to understand how this whole system works. The best thing to do is to always look at child support as not being a government agency, because it's not. It's a company. It's like fucking Walmart. It is Walmart purposely issuing out these orders. They have their own courtroom in the back of the store. They're fucking throwing you in jail. They call up the jail and say, hey, jail, we're going to give you guys $50 a day if you arrest this guy and you hold him in your jail for, like, you know, 6 days, okay? And the jail goes, okay, give us $50 a day. Okay. So now the jail comes in, they got the bailiffs and stuff, and the jailers, they come and they pick you up and bring you into the jail. Now the cool thing is, on their side, they get paid by Walmart to put you in jail, $50 every day. Then they also get federal funding, because the jail might be a federal jail, which means they house federal criminals, so they're going to get a little extra money for your incarceration, even though you're not a federal felon or federal criminal. they're going to get a little extra money, and then the state's also going to give them a little extra money for your incarceration. So they get a lot of fucking money. You know, all these law agencies make a lot of fucking money off of everything that they do. So then you're going to comply, and you're going to be like, okay, I promise I'll wear my blue vest at work, I promise. So then they're like, okay, so get on out of jail, and that's what you're going to do. You're going to wear your blue vest every single day you come to work. See, that's all child support is. It is just one big contractual fucking throw money at everybody, and eventually people are going to the cops are going to deliver a warrant issued by child support. That warrant was issued by a non-judge individual. They're going to throw you in jail off of some court order that's not even Article 3. It's an Article 1 administrative process. They're going to do all this shit to you because everybody gets a piece of the pie. Everybody gets paid. So you have to keep track of all this bad shit that they're doing. And then you just go after them. You keep a fucking log of all this shit they've done to you, and you just go after them. And the vehicle that you use is called the Title 42, 1983 Deprivation of Rights Under Color of Law. You can look that up. Title 42, 1983 Deprivation of Rights Under Color of Law. And that's where you can use your constitutional rights that are being violated. Your life's being violated, under Article 5 and Article 14. There's other articles you can use in the Constitution. And you use those rights because those rights are rights that you were born with, and you get to keep them, and they're yours. You have them automatically. The Constitution, on the other hand, the Constitution doesn't give anybody any rights. It doesn't give you rights. It's like a seatbelt. You get into an accident, and the seatbelt does not give you your life. You've already got your life. The seatbelt just stops you from injury. And that's how the Constitution works. The Constitution stops the government from turning around and injuring your life, injuring your property, injuring your existence, injuring anything about you. It is to stop that. And if you know your arguments and you know your cases and you can understand it, and you can go into court and you can stand on your own 2 feet by yourself, alone, not hire an attorney to come in and represent your rights, because that's about stupid. It doesn't make any sense. So you have to go in there by yourself alone and be able to stand in front of these people, speak with a jury, show them your arguments, explain everything, show everybody what's going on, explain that the entire child support system is no different than a corporation. You've got like Walmart. Yeah, Walmart's a great example, because Walmart's headquarters isn't in your state. It's not. Walmart's corporate headquarters is in some other state, someplace. They go into contract with the state, and then they create their own office in the state, which is a district office probably, or maybe the district office covers like 3 or 4 states at a time. So what they do is once they create that head office someplace in the state, then they contact all these other counties. No different than what child support does. It's just that child support uses the illusion of law. They use the illusion that their laws, and it even says it in their stupid child support manual, their federal child support manual, that their orders that they issue out are to have the same force and effect as those of the judiciary. And that is wrong. That's absolutely unconstitutional, because that is a statement that says our executive branch orders have the same force and effect as judicial branch, and that's a violation of separation of powers. No branch can enter into another branch and execute the duties of that branch. So a judge can't go over into the executive branch and execute orders that the executive branch wants the judge to do. You see what I'm saying? The judge always has to stay within the Article 3 judicial system, or he steps out, relinquishes he relinquishes canon. He relinquishes his oath of office, his oath to the Constitution, his oath to the state, and then signs child support paperwork as a magistrative service towards a magistrate services to a collection agency. Yeah. That's how all that works. So everything, every single thing, like you see down here in the bottom down here, oh. Come on, damn it. Everything that you see in this page is all contract. It's all contractual. And these people are fucking wicked. Especially after deciding to use a word or a phrase like child support. You know, we support children. The fuck you do? I mean, I gotta make up another diagram like this one and show you guys how the money works. How the money works. Yeah, that's just messed up. That's just totally messed up. You wouldn't believe how much fucking money states make off of child support. It's pathetic. And they all use it. It's like extortion. It's like they turn around and they use the idea of your children need support. What? Bullshit. You guys are doing this on purpose to people so that way you can collect federal funding. See how it works is, now I don't have a block diagram like I made here, but how it works is that when you pay into child support, that money goes into the child support office. Okay? Try to imagine this in your head. They take that money, let's say it's $500, they take that money and they put it into the state treasury. Okay? The state treasury. Then child support calls up, or they fax it or whatever, they let Department of Health, well, here in the state of Montana, they let the Department of Health and Human Services know, this guy just paid $500. Okay, so now what happens is Department of Health and Human Services reaches up into national debt and grabs down that $500. Then they also reach up and they grab 66% of that $500. Which comes out to be, I don't know, you guys do the math on that. But they take 66% of that $500. They send off that 66% off to the child support office, the office. Okay? They send that 66% off. Then they take that $500 and they issue it out into the state's section that is to be used for the child. So even though the woman gets, or we're gonna call it, well, it could be grandparents, whatever, whoever is taking care of the kid might think that the $500 that they got came from the dad. That's not what happens. That $500 came from the national debt. It comes from Title IV-A block grants. And it comes from a block grant that is issued out. And they take that money down right out of national debt and give it off to the women. Sometimes, a lot of times, if the woman doesn't request child support, the state will automatically impose the child support onto the guy, and that $500 wouldn't get issued out to her. What that $500 would do is it would go off to, say, the food stamps, or it would go into medical for the kids. But the thing is that the medical, the dentist, all that, those are all agencies that contract into the state, and they are the lowest bidders. You guys know that. Everybody knows that. Anybody who wants to contract into the state or do state work or government work has to be the lowest bidder. You have to be the lowest bidder. So is that dentist appointment that the child just went to, how much did that really cost the state to do? $40 maybe? But then they're pulling in $500? You see what I'm saying? Or even, and the food stamp thing, they claim that is part of the provisions that the state helps take care of, the food stamp. The food stamp program is issued by the Department of Health and Human Services. That's what that's issued, food stamp program. That's not issued by the state. Most of the time people out there thinking, and they're together, and I'm trying to track that stuff down a lot better, because it would probably be a good idea for me to know that. I don't know why, but it just feels like I should know that, but I don't know why. So yeah. And so what happens is so if you're looking at, if you imagine this block diagram, the father literally ever since 1975, when the TANF, when the AFDC program got initiated, or TANF, we call it TANF now, but whenever that program got initiated, literally since 1975, with this setup, no father has ever taken care of their children through child support. It's always come from the federal government. National debt pays those children. The state takes that initial $500 from that dad and sticks it in their own pockets in the state. That's why states, that's one primary reason why states voluntarily become part of this federal child support agency, because they make, the state will pull in 66%. The child support agency will pull in 66% recoupment of federal funds. And that even says it in the child support manual over here that I've got behind me. But you see, that's just 66%. They also get incentive funds. They get money for how many people they incarcerate. They get money how many people's licenses they pull. They get money for the enforcement. Every single time they go into contract with a cop to go out and execute and deliver paperwork, they get reimbursed for that. There's all sorts of stupid shit that the state makes. But keep in mind, you know, the doctors that are looking over the children, the food stamp card, you know, the insurance that's covered. See, all that is in the state. So all the doctors that get paid this money, they live in the state. And that's not money that the state has to pay to those people. That's money that the federal government pays to those doctors. It might come into the state's treasury office and then funnel out to the doctors. But that's all right, because all that money that goes off to the people of the state is still money that the state doesn't have to pay them. It all comes from the federal government. It's like fully supported by the federal government. And the state comes in and issues out certain amounts of money too, also to child support and stuff like that. They like get 34% reimbursement or some shit. I mean, this thing is like one huge fucking statutory bullshit. It's a statutory scheme that has one goal: to enslave guys and for the state to make money. That's it. They don't give a shit about children. They do not give a shit about your children or anybody else's children. Because if they really cared, imagine if you said, okay, well, I'm not going to pay child support, I'm just going to pay the mom directly. They freak out about that. No, you're going to go through us. You know why? It's because they're about to make 66% of the fucking amount that they're about to impose on you. That's why they say, no, you're going to go through us. You know, these fucking, they're such pieces of shits. You know, what needs to be done is somebody out there has to have some fucking goddamn balls and go into a court and get a jury to disenfranchise this contract right here. You see that right there? Get a jury to disenfranchise and dissolve the state's contract between the Federal Office of Child Support and the state. Get a jury to adjudicate that contract generates an unconstitutional actions against the people, and that contract is to be dissolved indefinitely. Now, what do you think that'll do on a state level? What do you think that would do on a state level? Contractually dissolve child support across the entire state. But you gotta have fucking balls. You gotta be goddamn fucking kick-ass. You pull those contracts, you dissolve their bitch asses, and guess what? When I'm done and I'm successful, guess who's in my radar again, huh? Guess who's in my scope, my crosshairs? Guess who it's gonna be?